Welcome, distinguished guests, dignitaries, our membership, our friends, colleagues, to the National Association of Black Narcotic Agents 35th Annual Training Conference. My name is Laverne Hibbert. I am the Washington, D.C. Metropolitan President of the chapter, and we are bringing you an exciting training agenda today, and we hope that you truly, truly enjoy all that we have to bring to you today. Right now, I would like to have the presentation of colors.
Face. Color. Hope. Present. Out.
We'd like to have the Pledge of Allegiance at this time. Do you want to place flag? Pledge of Allegiance. Can everyone join me with the Pledge of Allegiance? Okay. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Now we will have the singing of the national anthem by diversion investigator Nikita G. White.
Oh, say, can you see by the dawn's early light what so proudly we hailed at the twilight's last gleaming, whose broad stripes and bright stars through the perilous fight o'er the ramparts we watched were so gallantly streaming, and the rockets' red glare, the bombs bursting in air, gave proof through the night that our flag was still there. Oh, say does that star-spangled banner yet wave o'er the land of the free and the home of the brave?
Good morning. Good morning. And welcome to Prince George's County. It is such an honor to have each of you here today. And as you can tell, I'm sure I don't have to say it already, what a beautiful location you have selected. I don't think you could have chosen any better than Prince George's County. You've had a chance to look around at National Harbor, which is one of our crown jewels of Prince George's County. We are very proud of it, and we regard you as well as one of the crown jewels of the law enforcement community. So there's a synergy there, and we are very happy to have you here. We really appreciate the work that you do. I don't have to tell you how critical it is, not only in your respective jurisdictions, but certainly it is of critical value here as well as we strive to improve our communities and the quality of life for all of those who live in our communities. And so we thank you so much for the hard work that you do. We couldn't do it without important teamwork. So it is really a special honor not only to have you, but to have everyone who is assembled here today because we really do so much together as a team. And so we're grateful to you for that. As I indicated, you have selected, I think you could not have selected a better place than Prince George's County. I understand that your theme for this event is diversity, a powerful force for success. And as I read that, I thought, wow, how could they have selected a better venue and a better location than Prince George's County, because that is essentially what we are all about in Prince George's County. This, as you know, is a place where people are accepted, where we thrive because of our diversity here, because we have people of all races, creeds, colors, ethnicities here, ages, and we are much stronger for our diversity. And so your title, I think, is so extremely important. And also, I am so impressed, I've been hearing as well about the wonderful work that you are doing not only in law enforcement, but I've heard as well the work that you are doing on behalf of our young people. And so I want to say thank you so much. I understand that there are a number of scholarships and other programs that you promote, and we in Prince George's County recognize as well that we do nothing if we do not invest in the lives of our young people. And to the extent that we want to stop crime, which is really what I think all of us are interested in, it's not only about fighting crime, it's about preventing it in the first place. And so you all, I believe, are as well so wise and so courageous to take on helping tomorrow's leaders through the scholarships and other things that you do as well. And we in Prince George's County have made that a priority of ours as well. We have, I believe, the best county executive, the best leadership anywhere in the country in our very own Rushern Baker, who is working so tirelessly on behalf of our citizens and residents. We have as well, I just must brag for a moment, our Chief of Police, Magaw, who is as well doing a simply outstanding job. But we have been working so hard to invest in our young people through so many programs. The Police Explorers program, our county executive has been fighting, I tell you, fight, fight, fight. Watch the news while you're here and you'll see that he really is fighting so hard to make sure that we get every educational dollar possible to help our young people. And in our office as well, we are hosting this year something that we're calling the Sisterhood Summit this September to help the young women in our community who are suffering so greatly and who need us for guidance. And so we are really working there as well. And so I just wanted to stop by to say welcome to you, to thank you for selecting Prince George's County, to wish you well in your conference today and this week. I hear you'll be here until Friday. So there is not only a lot to learn, but so much to enjoy as well. And you know what? Just because we knew you were coming, it was a little rainy over the weekend. But guess what? We stopped the rain, we brought the sun out, and so we expect each of you to have an absolutely fantastic time. And I should apologize in advance for leaving a little early. I have some folks who are waiting in my office. We're preparing, there's a homicide trial that's coming up. They have some folks waiting there for us now. And so I do apologize for leaving a little early, but please do enjoy and please come back again. Thank you so much. May God bless each of you.
Thank you, State's Attorneys Alsobrooks, for those welcoming remarks. And now I would like to introduce Prince George's County Executive, Rushern Baker.
Thank you so much, and it is good to be here. As Angela exits, let me just say this. we learned very quickly that we have the finest state's attorney in the nation. She is doing a great job. Could we just give her another round of applause, please? I want to echo what she said. I think you couldn't pick a better venue to have your conference. We are so pleased to have you here. Since Angela said you're going to be here to Friday, not only do we have the weather that we hope will be cooperative, but I hope you spend lots of money. Please buy up everything. I want to tease the mayor of the District of Columbia because you are here. So when you head back there, those of you from the district, please tease him. But I know this is an important conference. We know it well, as the state's attorney said, that it is about teamwork, and it is also about training. Just by way of a little story, when I came into office and when the state's attorney came into office and when our public safety DCAO Barry Stanton is here, when we came into office, I had a brand new police chief who at the time was acting police chief, did not know if he would get the permanent job. So to greet him, we had 14 homicides in 14 days. We had every natural disaster you could think of. And in the midst of that, not knowing whether he would be permanent police chief, I'm sure he was thinking that if my luck holds up, I won't be permanent police chief, and someone else will have to deal with this. But what we did to address it was we actually, in a crisis with a new state's attorney, a new county executive, and 5 new members of the county council, and as I said, new police chief with a great command staff, is we pulled everyone together. Every Monday we met in my office with our senior staff on ways to deal with the crime that was happening in Prince George's County, not just from the standpoint of how we investigate and close cases, but in fact on how we prevent crimes from happening. Every single Monday, the command staff, myself, the state's attorney, our DCAO got together. By the end of the year, with that hard work, by the end of the year, overall crime in Prince George's County was down to a 35-year low. And even our homicides only peaked about 5, I believe, 5 above what the year before, because of the hard work and teamwork. That is why conferences like this are so important, because the knowledge you gain here, the information you take back, the synergy and the working together is what helps prevent crimes from happening. It helps investigate those narcotic cases that we need to close. It is teamwork. It is teamwork that got us to the point where at the end of the year, we were better off than we started. It is teamwork that led us to do something which the state's attorney alluded to, and that is going not just after crimes after they happen, after the person was arrested for drugs, after the investigation, but before. Because of the work of the police department and working together with the state's attorney's office and every other agency that we have in our government at our disposal, we decided to launch something called Transforming Neighborhood Initiative. We're here in Prince George's County. We are targeting 6 neighborhoods, 6 areas throughout this county that not only have high indicators around crime, but health disparity, dropout rates in education, lack of economic opportunity, lack of development. Those 6 areas around this great diverse county we're targeting. We're not only bringing in our public safety apparatus, but we're bringing in every part of our government. So not just law enforcement, not just the state's attorney's office, not just fire, but our health department, our environmental resources, which is our code enforcement, transportation, workforce development, everything we can bring to bear on those problems and those issues that you face every day, that you put your lives on the line every day for. We're going to go into those neighborhoods and we're going to change them. Not for 3 days, not for 3 months, not for 1 year, but for the entire Baker administration. This will be the focus of what we do. So you see this beautiful national harbor, and we want you to enjoy it. But when you come back to Prince George's County, there'll be other neighborhoods who right now you may not go to. We want you to shop over in Suitland, Hillcrest Heights, Glass Manor, Langley Park. We want those names to be synonymous with places you want to visit and bring your families. And by doing this and by working together, that's what would happen. So I want to thank you for being here. I want to thank you in advance for spending your money here. I want to close by saying, Miss White, where is she? If she could just stand up, please. That's right. Please stand up. That was terrific. In this year where we begin the celebration of the War of 1812, I think Francis Scott Key is right now crying because he's probably never knew it would be sung that beautiful. Thank you.
Well, good morning, and welcome to Prince George's County to National Harbor. It's our honor to have you here. Every time the county executive brings up those 14 days, I literally was the interim chief for like 2.5 weeks. Now I've been on the police department for almost 29 years, and to get hit like that right off the bat is something to live through. But actually, looking back at it, because of some things we did with a lot of people in this room, had a piece of this, especially Ava Cooper Davis, who unfortunately couldn't be here, but she's been just such a tremendous help to us, and I wanted to thank her publicly and for all the help that she's given us. But yeah, those 14 days, it's like, but looking back on it, that's probably what got me this job, is walking through that fire. You got to walk through the fire, you just do. But I don't want to do it again. But when I was thinking about what I wanted to say this morning, I knew I wanted to be brief. But I really just wanted to say thank you for what you do. Like I said, back in December of 2012, was placed as the interim. In January, I went and sat down with Special Agent in Charge Ava Cooper Davis, and kind of laid out some of our needs. And at that point, the relationship with DEA was somewhat strained. And to be honest with you, that was our fault. It wasn't DEA's fault. So I went to see her and asked for help, and she jumped right in. What do you need? Where can we help you? One of the first things we went after was an issue in District 4, which sits on the southeast border of Washington, D.C. We had a PCP problem. We were getting people shot, all kinds of different issues around PCP, but we couldn't put our hands around where the issue or where the supplier was. Once we did, with DEA's help, the violence in those communities stopped, which has been tremendous. What we did, and I'll hit the stats just very quickly. Last year, at the end of the year, we're down with that horrific beginning of the year, and the Washington Post loved it, by the way. But especially with a brand new administration, county council, it was a tough time. But we ended up the year down in violent crime 12%. That's twice the national average. In property crime, we were down 11%. That's almost triple the national average. Right now, we sit violent crime down 5%. Homicides this year, and it's early in the year, we have a long way to go, and we're staying focused, but we're down 46% over last year. We're doing the right things, but a big part of that is the people in this room, our partnerships with DEA. And really, again, I wanted to come, and that was the main thing, to thank Ava publicly, but also to thank you in this room for what you do, not only in this community, but in communities all over the country. You serve in some very, very tough situations overseas, and I can only begin to think what that's like. But again, I want to be brief, but just thank you for what you do every day for us, but what you do for communities all over this country. this is our time here the next 5 days to serve you. We appreciate you coming here. We appreciate what you do. Now it's our turn to serve you. We have a lieutenant that runs the harbor unit, Lieutenant Coletti, that anything you need, any issues come up, anything we can help you with, please don't hesitate to get a hold of us. Again, this is really our opportunity to serve you, and I look forward to that opportunity. But thank you for what you do.
Thank you, Chief Magaw. Let's give Chief Magaw another hand. 15 homicides coming in the door. And it is that partnership that will keep the community safe. Thank you. Now I'd like to ask Maryland State Police Colonel Stewart Russell.
Again, good morning, ladies and gentlemen, and good morning to our distinguished Deos members, learned and distinguished, both. Same sentence. It's a pleasure to be and an honor to be seated up here with you. Just for the audience's sake, I just want to make sure that it's clear, because I don't want the governor of the state to read this program and think that he's appointed a new superintendent. With Colonel Marcus L. Brown as the superintendent, I am one of the 3 bureau chiefs in the Maryland State Police at the rank of lieutenant colonel, but thank you for the honor. Maybe one day. But as a 35-year state trooper, I have had the opportunity to address many such gatherings and conferences, and each time it is an honor for me and a privilege, and I say that today even just as sincere as I've done it many other times. It is a great honor for me to be here in Prince George's County, and the chief and I were speaking in the while we were waiting about the great cooperation that has been fostered by him and the Prince George's County Police Department with the Maryland State Police. We have most of our crime units, our criminal units, here to assist the chief and the citizens of this community, working cohesively with the Sheriff's Office, Prince George's County Police Department, the U.S. Marshals, ATF, DEA, HIDA, etc. I have 2 Sergeant Shropshire back there. Any other troopers in the drug enforcement here besides Sergeant Shropshire? There he is. There he is. That's just 2 of the outstanding members of the Maryland State Police who serve this community in the drug enforcement area. But I'll make my remarks very quickly, because I just want to just say that in the times that we live in, these are extraordinary times, ladies and gentlemen. And any time in the history of this country that we've experienced extraordinary times, there have been exceptional people who stood up and took the challenge. This organization that you represent is a member of that group of people who are willing to step up and accept the challenge that it takes to address these issues. At a time where our future generations are at stake, that the scourge of drug abuse and all that goes with it has both physically and mentally prostituted the future of this country, it is time that we all sit together and stand as one, along with the communities, the churches, the public officials, the courts, law enforcement, corrections. This organization bridges those gaps. Organizations like yours help bridge those gaps to make sure that we do have a future, that our society has a future. The gallant men and women that risk their lives every day out there to do this can't do it alone. And the work of this organization ensures that they are not alone. So years from now, when the future generations take a look back and see what our generation did, they will speak kindly of us and remember that we took the challenge and stepped up for their future. And if I can go retro just for a second in my closing remarks, my favorite group when I was growing up was Curtis Mayfield and the Precious. I'll tell you, keep on pushing, ladies and gentlemen. God bless you.
Thank you, Lieutenant Colonel Stewart Russell, who will speak into existence his promotion as colonel. And thank you for your cooperation with the DEA and its members. Now I would like to welcome to the podium, on behalf of Special Agent Ava in charge, Ava Cooper Davis, the Drug Enforcement Administration Washington Division Office, Assistant Special Agent in charge, Gary Tuttle.
You know, most of you know that that Laverne is like a baby sister to me. I mean, I've known her entire career, but she's never ever put me in a tough spot like this. To have to follow this, come on, give me a break. Unfortunately, Ava couldn't be here today. She had a family emergency, so it's my honor to step in for her and to welcome you to the National Capital Region, where NABNA really, where it got its birth. I look out in the audience and I see the forefathers of NABNA, many of them, and it's just tremendous to see you here. Enjoy what you can of the National Capital Region, this particular area. I'm even more proud of the fact that I'm a PG County resident, so it's good that this is in my backyard. It's a very, very robust training agenda, and County Executive, Colonel, and Chief, it's really important for you to know that the training that we provide to your officers and state and locals doesn't cost your department anything. All right, and it's our pleasure to do that. It's an opportunity for us to do what DEA does best, and that's develop those partnerships. So welcome to the National Capital Region. On behalf of the Washington Field Division, if there's anything at all we can do, please let us know. All right, thank you.
I'm still growing up though. Baby sister, come on. Well, this is what I've been waiting for right here. We have the pleasure of having in attendance with us this morning a lady whose introduction to her portfolio is too long for the speaking. However, she represents the top drug law enforcement agency in the United States of America. She is Administrator Michele M. Leonhart.
Thank you, Laverne. It's such a privilege to be here, and with all these PG County executives here and the police chief, who I admire, in front of everybody, I do want to thank you for being here, especially to open up this very special 35th anniversary, 35th conference of this great organization. And I feel privileged because, as Karl Colder can tell you, it's been harder and harder ever since Muffin Gate and the GSA conference scandal. They're putting a lot of restrictions on us as heads of agencies, and you fell into a little problem where the Department of Justice all of a sudden decided that they would restrict the numbers of people that we send to conferences we believe in. This was one of them. And we went from anticipating that over 100 DEA employees would be coming. We thought we'd be restricted down to about 12. And you can imagine what that would have done to this organization and to this 35th conference. But with Karl's help and with some prayers and with a number of phone calls that we placed to explain to our leaders at the Department of Justice how important this organization is and how important this training conference is, we were able to get approved to fund 50 DEA employees here. And I look around, there's much more than 50 here. And that's because people paid out of their pockets to come here. So I want to thank everybody that's here. We at DEA, we know we don't do it alone. And so I was glad to hear that we have Maryland State Police here. So look around and see my DEA employees. We don't just have agents here. We have diversion investigators and intel analysts and support people. And this organization is strong after 35 years because it is not just a DEA organization. It is not just for agents. It's for everybody that believes in the mission of this organization and for everyone who's committed to making our communities safe. You represent field divisions in cities all across the nation. And see a few of my friends from headquarters across the river. It's important that once a year we get together so you can hear from me, the head of the DEA, that we're committed to everything that your organization is dedicated to, especially when I think of your theme, diversity. We're a strong agency because we are diverse. And I hear that very often. The Attorney General attended a graduation ceremony we had, one of our BAT classes. I'm glad to see Priscilla over there. We miss you. We're sitting on stage. It's about just a minute before he goes up and he gives his speech to our graduates and their families and friends. And he kind of grabs me and I lean over. We're on the stage, you know, I don't want to disrupt anything, but I lean over to him and he said, "Wow, is this what all your classes look like?" And I knew what he was getting at because we are up to about, our BAT classes are about 45% minority and women. So I smiled at him. I said, "You like the diversity, huh?" And he said, "Doesn't look like the FBI graduation class." I was pretty proud of that. But let's talk about leadership, and let's start leadership of this great organization, and that starts with a man that I know is not only a leader within DEA, but is going to be doing even bigger and greater things as he goes on in his career, and that's Karl Kolder. And I want to give him a round of applause. Karl's got a very, very hard job as the head of our Office of Professional Responsibility. You know, some of you are in the field divisions, you see the great cases, you see all the great instant gratification. Karl's in a job where he sees the underside of the agency, but he also sees all the good within the agency and does so many things for DEA, and I want to thank him for his leadership. And Tony Scott. Tony as the, I guess, vice president. I just want to thank you for what you do, not only in the Houston Field Division, but you've been attached to this organization for quite some time. Thank you for what you do. Now, Ava isn't here, and she's one, you just have to say her first name, Ava. I'm so proud. I knew I couldn't have gone wrong when I asked her to be the special agent in charge of the Washington Field Division. I have never for once regretted it. Chief, thank you for your kind words about her. She's a true leader, and I know that she has been inspired, mentored by so many of you in this great organization. And as I look out, I see so many of the our retired agents, and every time I see Pete Davis, then I think I'm a GS9 again. But so many of you, thank you for being here. And Gary, thanks for filling in for Ava. Until recently, Gary was my executive assistant. He's got many, many talents, let me tell you. In fact, he promised to fill in if our Indonesian counterparts made me karaoke at a recent conference. He offered to fill in for me. Gary, we didn't need you, okay? And then I was looking around. I do want to say something about Jimmy Fox, our special agent in charge in New Orleans, who's just done a phenomenal job. Wanted to thank him for the conference from last year, because we're still seeing the benefits of that great conference, and the men and women of the New Orleans Field Division that put that on. Thank you very much for what you did. And then finally, of course, I've got to thank the men and women of the Washington Field Division for putting on this conference, which in many ways is probably one of the hardest, not only because it's a tough budget year, but also it's in Washington, D.C. We knew that we were going to get good numbers here. And you know, middle of summer, and you have vacations and everything else, but you have just put together a spectacular conference. So thank you very much. And while I'm on the topic of leadership, I picked two people that I want to talk about. One we lost earlier in the year, and he was a mover and a shaker within DEA. And one of the reasons I think DEA is such a great agency today, and that's John Wilder. So think of him and his family in your prayers. And then on a happier note, because we lost John, on a happier note, at the end of August, we will be in Philadelphia to dedicate our training room up there in the name of Art Lewis, one of your founders, and again, a mover and shaker. So I wanted to mention those two because they've inspired all of us. They've touched all of our careers in some way. And their struggles, their words of wisdom, their sacrifices, again, have made us the agents and the DEA employees we are. And they've made our agency better. Now, this great organization is so important because you are all out recruiting. You are the future leaders in narcotic enforcement. And there are many challenges coming. You know, I think Terry Parham left just, several years ago. And the challenges, Terry, have changed since you've been gone. Synthetic drugs. Some of the retired guys are going, what are you talking about? K2, spice, bath salts. Okay, weren't around. Those are our problems. And so many of you are from the diversion program. You're on the front lines now because that is the biggest growing drug problem we have in our country. Yet we still have the traditional problems, that community violence that is spurred by drug trafficking, coke, heroin, meth. And then add these new drugs and these new problems on top of it. We need the best of the best. We need very good, dedicated, not only agents, but task force officers, fellow law enforcement officers to take on such a challenge. So I talked about those challenges to our future, but I wanted to think of one success I could also come and talk about. And really, it doesn't matter what agency you're in. And it doesn't matter if you're with PG County or state police. We all can join in this success. And that's when, DEA as an agency is in 84 offices in 64 countries. But working those domestic cases and working those domestic informants and sharing that intelligence with our state and local partners, and then using that to help build cases with our international partners. I'll leave you with 3 statistics I always mention because you never read about them in the paper. If we are to band together in drug law enforcement to go after the biggest and the baddest, then you need to hear what your collective efforts are doing. So of the kingpins out there, which now they call CPOTs, of the kingpins out there, the cases that we have all worked together, 75% of the biggest and the baddest in the world have been arrested. 50% of those kingpins, 75% have been indicted because of your cases. 50% of those kingpins have been arrested. And at no time in our history have we ever seen where 26% of them have been extradited to the United States and are being sentenced to very long prison terms. So you are all doing your part, not only helping your own communities, not only helping our nation, but helping the world. And this is a very, very important organization because you're helping the future for young people. Not only are you keeping communities safe, but I know firsthand that you have given out over 100 scholarships over the years. And I commend you and thank you for that. As an agency, our future holds great promise. And that is because of your great commitment. The commitment from our retired agents who are here today to continue that commitment. And that's also because you've been out finding the best of the best to bring into DEA or to bring into state and local law enforcement. And you are doing everything to include putting your lives on the line to keeping us all safe. So I wanted to say on behalf of a very grateful agency, the DEA, 10,000 men and women around the world, I want to thank you for your dedication. Thank you for your bravery and your commitment to drug law enforcement. And have a great conference. I hope to stop in again during the week. But thank you for all you do. Thank you.
Now I'd like to ask our national president, Mr. Karl C. Calder, to provide you with our welcome and closing.
Good morning. Good morning. You're getting there. You're getting there. But this is a great time for me because this is like a reunion, and for the past 8 years, being national president of my family, NABNA, just seems to get better. So I just want to first thank all of our guests, taking the time out of your busy schedules to be here, to join us. But more specifically, my role here now is to introduce you to what we do and what we're about. And I want to take time to first thank the Washington, D.C. chapter, Laverne, Hibbert, and I call this an anniversary, not an annual conference, because our members that put on these conferences, they tend to expend so many man hours putting this conference on, and we just don't know what they do. So I'm going to call this an anniversary because last week was Don Hibbert's and Laverne Hibbert's anniversary. And they worked diligently. They worked diligently to pull this conference off, and they said, well, we'll celebrate afterwards. But I'm going to make it a point that each and every one of us helped them celebrate this week. So I just wanted to mention that. To my executive officers, and we met Tony Scott, Michele, our National Secretary, Carlton Simmons, our Treasurer, Roberto O'Brien, our Sergeant at Arms, and the gentleman that said a prayer for me this morning, Mr. Greg Scott. Thank you very much. And our Sergeant at Arms, parliamentarian, Laverne Matthews. We have two founders here, Pete Davis and James Williams. Now you guys can stand. Right. But thank you. And the next people to stand are our retirees. And I had a list of retirees, but when you have a list, you forget people. So I don't want to do that because as I prepared this list, one other walked in the door. So I just want to thank all of our retirees. If you could please stand. And Gary Tuttle, on behalf of Ava Cooper Davis, thank you for coming. And I know Ava, and one thing that wasn't mentioned, the Washington Division Office, they're going through their annual inspection. So that's another burden on the effort here. And you know, anyone and every one of you know how inspections are, and it's time consuming. And I'm glad that the WDO could help us out here. So thank you, Gary. Now, this is an outstanding venue. Last year, New Orleans, now the National Harbor. And when I walked through this place, I was just so amazed at what a venue this is. And in 2004, I became the president in Washington, D.C., and now it's 2012, and I'm still here. So I guess you still love me, so, you know, that's a good thing. But what we're also about is scholarships and mentoring. And I want to introduce to you two young men that I decided that I would step up to the plate and lead by example. And both of them are from Bowie State University. And it's just amazing what these young men have accomplished, to the point that they're in our applicant pool. So I just want to introduce them to you. Jeffrey Alsobrooks. Now, I've known Jeffrey a little bit longer than my second mentee, but Jeffrey speaks 3 languages. He spent 8 weeks over in India on a college program, and he's a phenomenal young man. And he even won our Karl R. Gibson Scholarship last year. And the next young man, Deshaun Lewis. And he's currently applying with the Anne Arundel County Police Department. And we have some other folks in Prince. Yeah, we want to know. So that's why I brought you here, okay? So now you're gonna talk to some other people, all right? And that's what this is all about, you know? And I encourage each and every one of you to take time to sponsor, be a mentor. I have my sons at home. I do try to do a good job in mentoring them, but sometimes we have to go outside of that home base and help somebody else out. It helps our kids become better kids and better adults. Our state and local training, this started back in 2008 in Philadelphia, and it continues on this year, and I'm just so proud of the fact that we have this state and local training. The one thing I need to really focus on, and I think we need to focus on, is trying to get those folks from the previous conference to continue coming. And so I hope that our state and locals that are here, and they begin training tomorrow, I believe, will continue to support NABNA, continue to benefit from our training, and just continue to coordinate our efforts to grow and make this organization a better organization. I have a proclamation that I don't have with me at this time, but we talked about everybody else in Maryland, but we didn't talk about the governor. I'd like to thank the governor because he just, I wanted to keep this proclamation. It's like pristine, so I'll just hold off until the banquet and just read it to everybody, but it was just something, a spectacle. So I want to thank the governor on that. And to our administrator, Michele Leonhart. Of course, Gary, this was a hard act to follow, so you know what I'm going through now. But Administrator Leonhart is a supporter of this organization. She mentioned what we went through, what we're going through, and trying to pull off the conferences. I've received several phone calls. It's not personal. It's just what we had to do in a short period of time to get you here. And I think with her support, she allowed me to get back to her with all the information that I had on who was registered so that your money wouldn't be wasted, the government dollars wouldn't be wasted. And I think we came up with a good plan. Next year, we have to start all over. I don't know how that plan's going to be, but we're going to try again. And to Oliver Allen, he's not here, but he'll be here this week. He's from our EEO. He's head of our EEO division and headquarters. Thanks to Oliver, because he's the one that sends out all the guidance on conferences, no matter what conference it is, and he does an outstanding job. So, I get to the point where I open this conference, this 35th annual anniversary conference, and it's kind of rough for me now because 8 years, this might be it for me before you, but I don't know. We'll just move on. But I'd like to thank everybody here, and especially our membership, those of you that keep coming every year and helping us grow. So without further ado, our sponsors, can't forget about the sponsors. I see Maximus here, FIA, Blue Cross and Blue Shield, Geico, Feds, all these organizations that help us. And, who else? We have Justice Credit Union, Long-Term Care, and all these organizations help us. So Get a chance to talk to those individuals while you're here. Get a chance to meet the state and locals that come. Our young agents who are just coming on the job, network, talk to the older agents, the retired agents, and thank you very much for being here. And this 35th annual conference is now in session.